Your boy is ready. Let me go ahead and get this set up and give him a call so we can get this show on the road. We're going to talk about, are there any truth to stereotypes? This should be fun. This could be really long or really short. Hold on. You'd think I'd have everybody's number ready. There you are, John.
Hello?
What's up, man?
What's good, man? How you doing?
I'm good. You live on the podcast.
Yo, that's what's good, man. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, he's back. He came back.
Yo, I'm just glad I didn't fuck it up too bad the first time you let me back. So I had to try harder this time. See what happens.
I can't believe it, man. You got a repeat offender.
Yo. Yo, that's what's good.
Hey, so yeah, I kind of been talking a little bit, and I was saying we're gonna talk about are there any truth to stereotypes? But I want to ask you, you seen ENDGAME?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I saw that joint. Yeah.
How many times you seen it? Once?
I've only seen it one time.
Yeah.
We went opening weekend on Sunday,
Yeah.
and then caught Game of Thrones that evening. So it was a heavy day. It was a heavy day.
Yeah. Okay, so spoiler alert for anybody listening. We're about to talk about some things real quick.
Yo,
I loved ENDGAME. My only complaint was that it maybe could have been longer.
no, it didn't need to be longer.
Did it need to be longer? No.
Nah. Like I was about to run out of popcorn. Like it was long enough.
Damn, your popcorn lasted that long?
It was 3 strong hours. Listen, my daughter just got braces. She can't eat the popcorn like she used to, so it lasted a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So we had a couple bites left.
Yeah, man. It was cool. Like, I think it buttoned everything up. Like, it wasn't too neat. It was neat, but it wasn't too neat. Tony got offed. I think he personally should have been obliterated. I don't know. I don't know how was his suit just, I guess, taking in all that energy?
I mean, like it's Tony.
What's that mean?
Like he had plot armor. Plot armor.
He had plot armor?
Yeah. Plot armor absorbs a lot of shit. Look, I heard a great story though that apparently they filmed that final scene of his with him saying a different line, and they couldn't figure it out. And then somebody in the course of like their editing was like, "What if he says this?" And they were like, "That's it." And then they called Robert Downey Jr. And had him, like, they filmed it the next day. But like the whole movie was done and they were editing and they just didn't like that last line, and they came up with that final line, which I think was iconic and just classic. I was trying to not say it. I was trying to not say it for the people.
Oh, like I said, spoilers.
No, but yeah, like that last line I think was epic. So apparently they came back to that. And then also, I was hearing that, what's the other, the Captain America, is that Evans, Chris Evans?
Yeah, Chris Evans, yeah.
Apparently he was wild emotional because he knew it was his last film. And so there's people supposing that when he finally says Avengers Assemble, like he whispers it because he was trying to keep his emotions in check. Like they had to stop filming a couple times because he was crying and shit. So
what?
Yeah, that's what they said. But all right, so can I tell you the thing? Like, as much as I loved ENDGAME, can I tell you the movie that I'm more excited about than ENDGAME?
What?
Godzilla, King of Monsters. Oh. I'm so hyped for that shit.
You would be hyped about Godzilla. Now that I think about it.
I'm so hyped for that. Like, I grew up watching those films, man. Like, Creature Feature and then Black Belt Theater. Like, that was my whole shit.
So did you like the first Godzilla? I'm not talking about the corny one. I'm talking about the one in this storyline.
Right. So I liked the first one. I watched it in the theater twice. The second time I watched it, I was like, okay, I see there's a couple of little plot holes and some issues in here, but like, still, it's Godzilla, and the fight scenes between the kaiju were just amazing. So I was all in, and then I found out that King Kong, that last King Kong, it's all the same world.
Yeah, it was tied in. Yeah.
Right, and so there's that, and now they're doing King of Monsters with King Ghidorah in there. I just wonder if they're gonna have an MF Doom track on it because
come on,
that would be dope because that's his alter ego is King Ghidorah, so like that would be ill. But we'll see. So anyway, there's that, and then they're gonna have to do a Kong versus Godzilla joint. Like that's gotta happen.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about Godzilla. I mean, it looks like amazing. My beef with the first one was they show more of the I don't remember what the other thing was called, but they show more of that monster than Godzilla. In that movie. I was like, I want to see Godzilla.
But I mean, I think they did a great job of setting it up so that like Godzilla, although he's this huge monster, he's the savior in that film. Mm-hmm. And so you have to, when they did those first Star Wars prequels, you have this wonderful villain in Darth Maul, but nothing ever happens with him. You don't develop him at all.
Yeah, you don't know anything about him. He's just kind of there.
Right. And so what they did with that first Godzilla, I think, was correcting for that. They had the Mutos and all of this buildup about them so you understand who and what they are. And then Godzilla comes along so that you have a reason to kind of hate the bad guy.
I see. I see what they did there.
It's the thing that the Daredevil, the Netflix Daredevil did so well with D'Onofrio as Carlton. Is it Carlton Fisk? No, not Carlton Fisk. Just Fisk.
Fisk, yeah.
Yeah, just Fisk. Like the way they developed that character and made him this sort of like lovable psychopath. Like that character development on the villain side is just so important to make a film work.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because I remember watching that like, damn, they keep showing this other thing so much. I want to see more Godzilla. But you got a point. So yeah, I'm gonna watch it definitely, man. I don't know if it's gonna be in the theater, but we'll see. We'll see. I mean, we'll see.
You gotta go support, man. You gotta go support.
Yeah. I'm still in the back of my head laughing about it. You said Tony had plot armor. I don't mean to jump back to that, but that shit is funny.
Yo,
he said he had plot armor. I'm like, what?
It's real. That's real. You watch the movie and you see like there's no way that motherfucker didn't die, and they still be alive because of plot armor. It's powerful.
If the Infinity Gauntlet like charged up Thanos and like burnt half his body, but Thanos was like eating like Infinity Stones.
Yo, he was killing those dudes. Yo, I'm gonna tell you what was the dope. I'm gonna tell you the dopest part about the film for me, right? So since we already said spoilers, I'm gonna say it again, spoilers, because I'm about to say some shit. So after the three white dudes, like Iron Man, Captain America, and the God, Thor, they go after him and they get their asses handed to him.
Right.
And like two of them are hemmed up. Captain America does his like classic, like his iconic, I'm gonna stand up even though I should be dead.
Yeah.
The shield is beaten to hell and like everyone's dying. Like it's about to go bad.
I know what you're about to say.
Who comes to America's aid? The portal opens and nobody walks out but black people. Like for a whole 3 seconds, it's just America and black people right there. And that's such a powerful statement for
you think that was on purpose?
Inclusion. Hell yeah, it was on purpose. Let me tell you how smooth they are. The Russo brothers are dope when it comes to diversity and inclusion shit. Like they're dope. So they had the moment in the first Avengers, Infinity War, where all of the women get together in the battle for Wakanda.
Yeah. Like
all of the women are working together to help each other. Then they have this master class on like female power empowerment with Captain Marvel, right?
Yeah.
So now you have this joint. Okay, so the portal opens. America's in dire straits. Who comes through but the black people? If that's not telling you that you need diversity and inclusion to stand strong in a very potent, symbolical way. I don't know what else it's saying, right? But then also peep the subtle shit that they do to just like normalize things, right? Mm-hmm. So if you remember in the very beginning of the film, they having a little group therapy session, right?
Yeah.
One of the Russo brothers is the one that's talking to Cap about going on a
being
date.
Gay, yeah.
And he just slides it in like it's real regular. And Cap doesn't react. Like it doesn't matter to anyone. But like for my daughter who identifies as gay, sitting in the theater, like to see that as so normal is huge for her. Like that amount of representation is huge for her. Like for my son to be sitting there next to me and like see that and realize that like that's just regular. Then now he doesn't have to walk around with a heart full of hate because he's scared of some shit that he don't understand. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not threatened by some shit that has nothing to do with him because it's regular, it's normal. Like then at the end, also in the final battle, this was the other point that was my favorite thing. When Captain Marvel shows up, her and the Scarlet Witch are the only people that really are able to go toe to toe with Thanos. Like that's dope. Like the two chicks were the only ones really able to kind of give him what for. And the Scarlet Witch, she damn near had his ass.
Yeah, she had him.
Because she is, I think, the most powerful mutant outside of Jean Grey with Phoenix. Like, so there's all of this happening. But when Captain Marvel had to do her little mission and get from point A to point B, and they were like, "Oh my God, how are we gonna get her there?" They had all women come to her rescue, and it was all women that came and helped her. Like the Russos do a great job of acknowledging those things and carrying them forward, which was also Stan Lee's mission. Like that was his whole shit. Like the whole thing about the mutants and like having black characters and having strong female characters. Like he was doing all of that, or him and his partners were doing all of that in a place where that wasn't normal. That wasn't regular. So I got to give him.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, I mean I'm done. I'm gonna put the soapbox away. Like that was dope.
No, I was about to say I got to talk to you more.
Yo, I'm with it.
I got to talk to you more, man. I got to talk to you more. Like you say the things that like enter into my mind. Sometimes they get flushed out. Other times they just kind of come in and go out. But you be talking about it in a way that just.
Yo, I mean, the thing is I pay attention to stuff like that, like, because it matters so much. Like, so this is one that I've shared with some friends over time that, like white friends that didn't recognize these things and didn't understand until we had the conversation about how powerful inclusion is and what those images do. And it actually ties into the stereotype conversation that we're supposed to be having. So if you think back to your youth, right, when you were watching TV, the TV commercials were just about all white people. Unless it was like Billy D. Williams selling you some Colt 45, like it was all white folks, right?
Right.
And so then as we go through the 80s and 90s, you start to see more black people on TV. You start to see black people in these ads. But it's very sterile. Like it's very sterilized. It's frequently very light-skinned people, curly hair folks could damn near pass. Like it's this whole thing. But then Michael Jordan comes along and he kind of changes things. So there was this series of commercials that he does for Hanes. And this one in particular was a game changer for me. I think it was a game changer for America because this is what happens. There's two middle-aged white ladies sitting on a bench and dudes are walking by and they go boxers, briefs, boxers, briefs. And it's just white dudes walking past.
I remember this.
And then Mike walks by and they don't say shit. And he looks at him and he goes, Hanes, and gives him that Michael Jordan smile and then walks off. And I was like, oh shit, this is ill because they just had two white women sexualize a black man and used it to sell some underwear. You don't use it, like you're not going to use anything that's offensive or anything that's dangerous or controversial to sell because it could affect your ability to sell.
Right.
You want to hit the widest market. So now I'm not going to run that commercial if it's not going to afford me the opportunity to sell these draws to white folks as well as black. Yeah. But they knew good and hell well that you could have that and them same, the same demographic. They was gonna go buy some Hanes for their husband and hope that he could be like Mike.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that is powerful, and
Mike
it's a turning
dark,
point.
man.
Ooh, yeah. Like he was blackity black. He was snipish.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes set a standard now. That's blue black. That's what the old folks say.
I'm about to say purple, but you said blue.
That's what the old folks say. Listen, every brother got a distant relative or uncle or cousin named Blue, and the brother was dark. Wasn't
that one of the dudes' names in the Temptations? I think they call one of them Blue.
It might have been. I don't know.
Deep voice.
It might have been though. It might have been.
Oh my God, man! See, I gotta talk to you. I gotta talk to you more, man. I gotta talk to you a lot more. Like I gotta talk to you more.
Let's do it. I'm all about it.
So like that, I guess that's a good transition, man. So I kind of had this thought over some time now where, I've like wrestled with it and had these conversations with friends, and where I'm like, you hear things like just in passing conversation, like black people got rhythm, black people are naturally athletic, white people ain't got no rhythm. You just hear things throughout your life, and that's obviously not true. Like all black people can't dance, all black people ain't got rhythm, all black people ain't athletic. But a lot of us are.
Sure.
Why is that?
So
I have theories, but
okay. So here's the thing. The basic piece with stereotypes, it's about grouping, right?
Yeah.
So if we don't have the good sense to recognize that when Ubuntu the first got his ass towed up by a lion, if we don't recognize that all the rest of these lions is equally dangerous, we don't make it as a species.
Ah, I see what you did there. Yeah.
Like if we don't recognize that snakes, the cobra is dangerous, and we shouldn't go pet it, we don't survive. Mm-hmm. If we don't have things where shellfish and poorly cooked pork kill off people in the Middle East, then we don't classify those animals as dirty and filthy. Mm-hmm. And so you probably don't have the same bans on them in your religions that we do. Right? Like if nobody ever died from eating shellfish or a cloven hoof animal, like it probably doesn't show up in the books. You know what I'm saying? Like it's those classifications or groupings that help keep us alive. What happens with stereotypes is the confluence of our propensity to group things together and propaganda or rationalization, right? So if you look at that, because I was actually thinking about this in preparation for the conversation we're having today. If you go back and you look at propaganda during slavery about Black people, Africans, what you see is conversations about writings about how the African has a docile nature, how they are smart enough to learn new tasks, and docile enough to be trained, how they are hardy and sturdy, and how they are hard workers, and so they are perfectly suited for the task that they've been selected for, which is to be collected in mass, brought over to a new world, and used to basically build a country, right? Through farming and actual construction. But then what happens is we get to the point of the conversation, abolition starts to pick up momentum, and you have a lot of the pseudosciences and things like phrenology and all of that stuff coming at about the same time as slavery is ended. And you have to have a new narrative to justify the violent policing by police and the Klan and all of these other sort of organizations, if you will. To justify that, you have to change the narrative. And so that's where you find conversations about how the African is less intelligent. You find conversations about Africans are more violent. They are overly sexual. All of those sort of things start to generate as a piece of propaganda to justify, everything from lynchings to Jim Crow laws. And so as the propaganda meets, the populace, it starts to develop the new set of stereotypes that you have that persist to this day, and that becomes problematic. The same thing happens if you look, and I'm not trying to be hyper religious or get into all of that stuff with your podcast, but like when you look at how women have been treated in Western society, right?
Yeah.
Like and how that matches some of the for lack of a better word, religious propaganda, right? About like if you look at women in the Bible and things like that, and the roles that they play, they are set up as the temptress and all these things. But then we forget that there was a moment where a secular man was in charge of the group of folks at the Council of Nicaea that determined what books go in the Bible. So the books that were, there are books that are considered apocryphal or Gnostic gospels that talk about the time when Jesus was around and are written from a woman's perspective or about women and things like that, that have been thrown out. So what you're left with is a religion based on a man who is called Jesus Christ because he was christened, and he's only anointed, like physically, by a woman when I believe it was Mary Magdalene washed his feet. She anointed his feet with the oil. It's the only time it happens in the book. And that's where his name comes from, right? Like he's the Christ, he's the anointed one. And a woman does that, but like, then we also demonize her. And then we have a woman asking for a man's head on a plate. And then a woman was the one that talked to a snake. And then a woman is the temptress. And when a woman bleeds, she got to leave the camp for 7 days. And like, you have all of this stuff that like paint women as these like frail temptresses. And then we find ourselves in a culture, millennia later, where a woman says she was raped, and we want to ask, what was she wearing?
Yeah.
Like, you see what I'm saying? So it's stereotyping is natural. The problem with stereotyping is where it meets propaganda, and that's where we have problems.
Yeah. So one of the things that I talk about on one of the other podcasts I have was we were trying to figure out like what's the solution. And I don't know that there is like one thing that you do. But one of the things that I thought about was like why the Cosby Show. You actually kind of talked about it with Jordan a little bit. But while I was saying like why the Cosby Show was so important was because it made black people seem normal.
Yes.
And like everyday people. And then you had white people watching it, and it gave society a different image of who we are. And it wasn't just Menace to Society or Boys in the Hood or whatever.
Right.
Which are great movies, but I still think that it kind of lended to some of the stereotypes and ideas about who we are. And so I think one of the ways you deconstruct that is like me and you talked about, I think on the last podcast, where you have like all these things that entertainment, because people consume so much entertainment, and entertainment, I don't know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like it kind of creates like a public narrative about things.
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. Which is why shows like Blackish are so important. The success of like Scandal is hugely important. Every opportunity that you have to see someone and in a different light, it expands your understanding of what that person can be. So when we have rap, for better or for worse, showing these caricatures of the black experience, if you will, like as far afield as it has gone of late, like that's what you have. It's consumed in part because people want to know what that's about. Like, you know, you get a window into a different world. So like, let's find out. Okay, cool. But you have to have the balance. So whereas back in the day we had NWA and we had Tribe Called Quest, like now we only got Lil Uzi Vert and, you know, Lil Nas X and Lil somebody else. Like ain't nobody grown no more, you know, like the Kendricks, the Kendrick Lamars and the J. Cole's are few and far between. Mm-hmm. So the balance is not there, but we're starting to see balance in other places. So now when my kids go to, you know, when my kids go to the movies, they can see Black Panther. We can see Captain Marvel. They about to have Hispanic Batman. Have you seen this?
What?
You haven't seen this?
Say this.
Yo,
say that again.
it's Hispanic Batman, basically. It's a movie with. I'm kind of salty because George Lopez is in it, and I'm not a fan of that dude. But it's called El Chicano, and like basically it's this Mexican dude with a poncho on, like vigilante style, Southern California. Like it's a thing. It's happening. It's coming out this summer.
Okay, I had to do nothing about that.
Yo, I just saw the ad the other day. I think I saw it while I was watching the basketball game.
Wait, is it a Hispanic vigilante or is it Batman?
It's a Hispanic vigilante.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
I mean, you know, it's Batman. Like
it's Batman.
He just, you know, his cave don't have no bats and he don't have no Alfred, but like,
it's Batman.
It's the same shit. Yeah, it's you know, the classic vigilante. Like it is the image of manhood that all Americans aspire to. You know, the mega rich, super smart, karate expert vigilante. Yeah. Like that is the height of American maleness, if you will.
It's diehard Bruce Willis. It's, you know, it's
100%. It is part of the reason why we will not ever get rid of guns in this country is because everyone thinks they're Batman. Everyone thinks that they're you know, gonna save Nakatoshi Tower. Like they think they're the ones can do it like that. It's fucking ridiculous, but that's what it is.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, kind of back to the, is there any truth in stereotypes? So why do we dominate the NBA? Why do we dominate sports for the most part? Like I said, I have ideas and theories, but that's just all they are. I haven't done research on the shit.
So do you know who Jimmy the Greek is?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, so Jimmy the Greek was this dude. He was on the sports shows way back in the day. Like in the, I want to say it was the early '80s, and I saw it when he did it. Like I saw him when he did it, and it was like before a football game, before a basketball game. Like they had a pregame show or whatever, and they was talking to him, and they threw it over to Jimmy the Greek, and he was like, "Well, I mean, you know, they're bred for this. Like if you go back to slavery, and you know, you want the biggest, the strongest, the most athletic, you know, working your plantation, and so like this is what we have now." Like, and I was like, "Well, shit." Now, Jimmy the Greek, the reason you don't know who he is because they quickly hustled his ass off of TV and got him away from all microphones. However, you know, is there perhaps a shred of truth in what he said? I mean, maybe. I don't know. You talk about fast twitch muscles and, you know, the way that we were specially suited for the plantation work in the South and in the Caribbean because of the way that our kidneys allegedly hold salt better so we don't dehydrate as quickly and all kind of other wild shit. Like, you know, there's a lot of pseudoscience and things like that, sure. What I would tell you is this, okay? I remember playing football with empty 2-liter bottle in you know, glass littered fields back in the hood. Like I remember you know, nailing an old bicycle tire rim to a tree and playing basketball. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I'm saying? The reason that we excel, whether there are any physical or genetic reasons or not, I think the real reason that we excel is because we see that as a way out. We see that as a way up. And we can practice. Like, you got to have a lot of equipment to play basketball, to play baseball. You got to have a lot of equipment to play field hockey or regular hockey or lacrosse or any of that shit. Like, it requires a lot. Like tennis, it requires a lot. So if we know that, and then you look at the sports where you don't have to have a lot, like look at who dominates soccer around the world. It's brown people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're killing the game in a lot of spots, but it's because, like, you can get a big ball of tape and play soccer if that's what you really want to do, and it's a way out. And so, you know, I mean, until we have some more, you know, or as we have more representation of successful Black people that are not sports stars or, you know, entertainers, and we have more depictions of, you know, Heathcliff Huxtables, Claire Huxtables, you know, Rainbow, and I can never remember Anthony Anderson's name, but like, as we have more depictions of that, mm-hmm. Then I think we'll grow. I mean, keep in mind, like, you and I both have children who have always lived in a world where a Black man was the president of the United States. Like, that means so much. Mm-hmm. Whenever I think about these conversations, I think about that iconic picture of Obama leaning down and there's a little Black boy just touching his hair.
Yeah, I got that actually on my wall.
Yeah, and he just wanted to touch his hair, so I wanted to know his hair was like mine. Like, yeah, like when you tell your son like he can do anything he wants to do, you can say that shit and mean it. I don't think that my parents meant it. Like, they said it, but it wasn't the same. They was like, yeah, like, you can be anything you want. Like, that niggas are allowed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was more rules on it. And it's not that way anymore. And women have gone through that. And they go through it still because, like, you see what happened to Hillary. A lot of folks didn't vote for her just because she was a woman.
Yeah.
You know, but, like, there was a time when, for example, my grandmother, like, she could only be a nurse or a school teacher. That was all the options she had. Like, that's all they let women do back then. Mm-hmm. So to be in a place where women are CEOs and women are superheroes and all of those, like, it is slowly expanding, but we just ain't there yet. Like, yeah. We ain't all the way there yet.
Yeah, so, like, I've always kind of wrestled with that idea, like, were we bred for this? You know, like, kind of how you touched on that.
Sure.
And that, you know, a lot of the other ones were killed off, and just more of a thing where, you know, only the strong survive. And that hurts my heart to think about. And what are the effects of that today? And I don't know that I have the answer on that, but I've always wondered about that.
But also, I mean, okay, so let's think about what we're saying here, right? Mm-hmm. You have like the game is on right now. Houston is playing Golden State right now.
Right.
It's a bunch of like, I'm 6'4.5". I would be the smallest man on the court if I stepped out there.
Right.
So for these dudes to be out there and to be the size they are, there's a level of nutrition that they had to have.
Okay.
Like, there's a level of safety that they had to have to be able to reach these heights. And so, yeah, some of them come from some tough backgrounds. Certainly they do. But, like, the confluence of genes that had to come together to make them be that kind of tall and have that kind of vision and have that kind of fast switch muscle to be able to jump that high and run that fast, like, that's a miraculous event. And then for all that to come together and also end up being a household where they could feed you well enough for you to grow to be this big. Mm-hmm. Well, that doesn't just happen. And it doesn't kind of matter who, you know, who I mean, the whole ancestry piece, like, yes, that's a part of it. But, mm-hmm. I mean, this is why I kind of shy away from it, or putting too much credence in it. Mm-hmm. Like, sure, you can be that kind of big, but we live in Texas. And this never happened until I got to Texas. But you can walk around any mall or Walmart in Texas that I've ever been in and just randomly see a 7-foot tall white dude walk by you. Like, it is not like that anywhere else. It's some big folks down here. Like, folks is big in Texas, right? Okay, cool. But, like, they're not all in the NBA. They didn't necessarily all play ball. Like, these cats are as good as they are because they never stopped dribbling a basketball, because they were in the gym an hour before everybody else, an hour after everybody else. And, you know, on the days when everybody else took a break, they went and were shooting someplace else. Like, it is concentrated effort and practice that has gotten them to this point. Not just a fluke of genetics or, you know, the happenstance of racial genetic engineering because of the slave trade. Like, I don't think it's that simple. That takes away from the skill, because you can be as big as you want, but like, can you shoot a 3-pointer? You know, can you dribble drive and go past somebody, or you know, play defense? Like, can you get off the line and around a 300-pound tackle and get to the quarterback? Like, that is practiced skill that has less to do with genetics than we think. And if you ever doubt it, look at Julian Edelman. You know, look at Steph Curry, for example. Steph Curry is not, you know, he's not the biggest dude out there, and he's not the fastest guy out there, but he worked and worked and worked and worked until he damn near can't miss. You know what I'm saying? But that's 100% effort. I think that I don't know. I think we.
I like how you put that.
Yeah, I just think we denigrate the you know, how hard they work to be where they are. If we just chalk it all up to genetics,
and that would explain why that, like I said, I have such an uneasiness with that answer. That, I mean, you hear me hesitating with that, and it's always been uncomfortable for me, and I'm like, I never just wanted to resign to that thought, and so you put it the way you put it makes sense, and I like it.
I mean, because I have to think that, let's say, as you know, they talk about how LeBron has like a photographic memory for teams and the way that their defensive sets are run, and the offensive plays that they run and all those things. Like, he holds that down. I have to think that if he was born into a middle-class home of, you know, doctors, that he could have taken that photographic memory and applied it to something else and been a tall ass physician, you know, like there's no reason that he couldn't have been like the biggest vet in Ohio. Yeah. And I mean, biggest in size just because, you know, he chose to apply that to basketball because he saw that as a way for him to accomplish what he was trying to accomplish. Like, it was a feasible outlet. It's like, you know, we have all these we have all these thoughts and judgments about people who, for example, sell crack, right? Yeah. But I'm 12, I'm 13 years old. Everybody that I ever seen that had money was either on TV in white, on TV and playing some kind of ball, or they was rapping. I can't rap and I can't play ball, or it was the cats in the hood that was slinging drugs. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm hungry, and they ain't finna open no Kroger nearby for me to get a job as the stock boy or doing bags or something like that, like they got in the suburbs. Like, that's not an option for me. They're not opening a Starbucks out here for me to get a job. Ain't no movie theaters over here for me to go get a job slinging popcorn. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? The only stores and businesses, like grocery stores, is the bodega, and those tend to be family run, and they're not hiring outside the family. So what options do I have to succeed? Like, where do I put my effort? School ain't the answer. It's 37 kids in the classroom and 4 books. What the fuck am I supposed to do in there? Right. So when you look at and you start weighing the options, what can I do? Well, shit, if you got a good jump shot, you better work on your jump shot. If you quick off the line and you can go catch a football, then run, brother, run, catch a football. If you can rap your ass off. Like, we start looking at what are the viable options, and then for some people, they're like, listen, if the choices are starve to death or sell drugs, that's an easy choice.
Mm-hmm.
And people can only work within their options. I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? Like what they see and perceive as an option, that's where they work. And so, these cats out here that are trying to get out of bad situations and playing sports, like, they putting that effort in. But who's to say that they couldn't put that effort someplace else if they saw that as a viable opportunity and be just as successful in those other venues? I believe they could.
Yeah, and I think you have evidence of that. I mean, obviously, you see it in hip hop, but there's this documentary that I just got done watching on Netflix called "Knock Down the House."
Okay.
Have you heard about it? It's
I have not.
It's called "Knock Down the House," and it's about I'm going to mispronounce her name, Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh yeah.
And all the women that were running for Congress.
Yes.
And they were saying basically it's a documentary about that whole process, and it basically showed how it was unprecedented about how many women and people of color got into politics who had no history or career in politics, but they saw it as an option, and so like the demographics are starting to change. And so, just saying that to say, you're seeing evidence of that. The more things that are becoming open to us, we're getting beyond hip hop and sports.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're seeing it in acting and Hollywood and
all
kinds of shit, man.
I mean, that's all it is, and I think that is also as you see more, as I was about to say, as you see more socioeconomic upward mobility for Black folks, you expect that to expand. But that's kind of problematic too, because we have a de facto caste system in America that people don't like to really talk about, and statistically and numerically, we're not as socially mobile as we would like to think. It just as a, like, that's for all folks, white folks, Asians, whoever. We're not really as socially mobile as we think we are. Opportunities exist, but we like to look at the Mark Cubans of the world and make them the rule instead of understanding the exceptions. All of that said, folks like myself, folks like you, who are having children and doing our best to afford them additional opportunities, support and opportunities for my kids that I feel like I didn't really have. It's that incremental progress that we talked about last time. It will be better next time. Setting the baseline for my kids with how they live and the way they see me working and the fact that I have a college education. These are things that they sort of take for granted that they're going to go do, that they will go accomplish, and then they will go try that. And so that's dope because it's their horizons have expanded. What's the realm of possible for them is much greater than it was for even me. I often reflect on points in my life as a child where, considering where I am today as an adult, I could never have figured that I would do that. Even my moderate success is in some ways would have been unfathomable to that young boy.
Yeah. So my son, it's nuts. I'll have him up here in my little office studio area, and he'll be banging on the keyboard, turning knobs.
Okay.
He'll be using my mouse on my computer. He's working the iPad. I'm like,
yep,
this is nuts.
It's insane.
It's like, this is nuts. Like, what is he going to be able to do? Like, what's going to be what's going to be his ceiling in his mind? You know,
Right.
it's fun to think about.
And hopefully he doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't have one. You know. All right. So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are there? I don't want to ask a leading question. In what ways have stereotypes about black men affected you?
Well, they've affected me, and I think I talked about this on the last episode a little bit, because I kind of get it from my own people, where, like, I don't know what the proper term is. Black on black racism. I don't know. I don't know what the term is, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
I get all the stuff that we get from white people, right?
Sure.
That's all a given, but then I also get it from my own people, so I'm like fighting on two fronts, because I come from middle class America, and I talk the way I talk, and I dress how I dress, and that is, I'm not gonna lie, that is a result of my environment. You know, I grew up in a white neighborhood with white people,
right?
And that was my normal until I talked about this before, until I got to Memphis. Mm-hmm. Saw my mom and dad's side of the family, and I was like, yo, what? Like, I didn't know there was that many black people anywhere.
Oh, wow.
It was like a culture shock, you know, because like being in Columbus, Ohio, I probably had seen like 10 black people, you know, and that's probably including my family. And then you get to Memphis, and you get to Memphis, and then it's like the exact opposite. It's weird if you see a white person at that time. The demographics have changed now, but this has all happened to me when I'm like, 12 years old, 14 years old. And it's like, I'm just seeing massive amounts of black people. It was just nuts. And it obviously felt different, and it was more welcoming, and it was nice. And so that's kind of been the gist of my experience is just, and it didn't help that I married a white woman either. You know what I mean? Like, it just made it worse.
But so here's I have a line in a unrecorded song. I said, I wrote more saving throws than CeeLo for dough. So they called him white boy, but the cops didn't know. Cause like, you know what I mean? Like, I rap, I play basketball, but like I also play Dungeons and Dragons like a lot. So there's a lot of different facets to me, and I think that if we allowed ourselves as a people, you would find those multiple facets in more black folks than you might otherwise imagine. And part of that is because of the effect of those stereotypes of what we have allowed other people to tell us we are, and then what we continue to tell ourselves we should be.
And what we're comfortable portraying. I said this in one of my other episodes where I'm like, you see this like uniform with not just black people, but white people. You see these like patterns. And I was like, I'll be damned if I believe that what I'm looking at is what's real. Like, I don't think people, just generally speaking, are comfortable being themselves. And so you portray a stereotype because it's safe.
No, and I'm going to tell you, so in retrospect, I know for a fact that I did that for years of my life. So you're aware I went to Princeton, and I've never been shunned like that en masse in my whole life.
Yeah,
like I was out of place, and I really didn't know how to handle it. I've been around all different kinds of folks all my life, but in general, there was a bracket, a socioeconomic bracket. So we had similar problems. We were in similar places. It was different than going up there to this sort of wonderland of wealth, where I really was an anomaly. They did not see people like me, and I was different. And like I kind of, I was hippity hop guy. Like I talk like that. So now I'm up here and I'm in this place that I don't match, and it was like, okay, all right, that's what you see. Well, then let's make sure you see it. And so I was hoodies and like I was wearing skull caps and like, you know, the wool skull caps, like the Scullies.
Yeah.
I was wearing those with hoodies in June because fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be scared of me, then all right, then fuck it, be scared. And I just dug in and I was like, I'm going to embrace all that shit. And I went hard. And in retrospect, I can look back at that as a fully realized man and say, you know, that was reactionary. And it was, you know, probably not entirely healthy, but you can also just kind of expand and you kind of see how we do that. I'm not a part of America. I'm not a part of your society. So what I'm going to do is be the antithesis of that in all the ways. And so that's what we do. If you listen to the music, that's what we do. And it's unfortunate, but you know, you can only knock on the door for so long before you realize no one's going to answer, and then you have to go make your own shelter.
There you go. Yeah, and that's why I'm so headstrong now. Like you see me and the things I do, and the thing I just did.
Yeah,
my place of employment.
You're a soldier.
You know what I mean?
But it takes years and of like the bumps and the bruises and the introspection to get to that place where you can say, you know what, fuck all. But I will say this as well. Let's say I want some Popeyes for lunch. I'm gonna eat my chicken at the Popeyes. You will not see me bring a 3-piece with a biscuit and a pepper back to the office so I can eat this chicken in front of these white folks. Like I don't do it.
Yeah.
I just don't do it because because if you look at me funny while I'm doing it, now I'm thinking things about you that may or may not be true.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it just keeps it rolling. And it's silly, but it's things you think about. Like it's things you consider.
Yeah. Yeah. Not having, like you said, at some point you stop knocking on that door. Nobody's going to answer. I was like, fuck it. I'm not accepted anywhere. So I'm just going to do what I want to do. And I determined that at an early age, at probably I think around 17, 19 years old, I realized that nobody likes me. And nobody's going to like me. And so
I think the realization and hopefully this is fitting.
Yeah.
It's not that no one likes you. It's the realization that you have that there is no one like you. And so you can try all you want to be, to fit in with the black guys. You can try all you want to fit in with the white guys, or the Asian guys or whomever else. Like you can try to fit in with but none of that, no stereotype, no grouping actually encapsulates 100% of a person.
No.
So you're going to have characteristics that are outliers, and getting to a place where you can embrace that and go, you know what, these guys, we all like the same, we all like Wu-Tang Clan and MOP. Okay, great. But I also like Of Monsters and Men and Coldplay, and they don't like that. So I'm going to just listen to that over here and talk to these folks that like Of Monsters and Men and Coldplay. Like, you have to get to a place where that's the case. Because even for white kids or Asian kids or Hispanics or whomever else, consider the high school experience, the middle school experience. You spend all of that time trying to find your group, trying to fit in with somebody. And it's just kind of we like to have a tribe. Like, we need a group to fit with, And I think that's just part of the process. And eventually, in my opinion, the best people get to that place where they realize, you know what, there's actually nobody that's like me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be me, and I will share those parts of me with other people who can appreciate those parts.
Yeah.
And that's.
Nah, go ahead. I was saying it's just.
I was just saying, like, that's the whole thing. Like, that's it.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I don't know if you've ever took the time to notice or if it ever crossed your mind or if you ever seen it. I've had people I'm not going to say where we worked.
Yeah.
My former place of employment. I would always, from certain people, it would look at me weird because they would see me have a conversation with you. And then in turn, I'm having a conversation with a nerdy white chick. And then I'm having a conversation with a Hispanic dude. And I'm getting along with all these people. And they're kind of looking at me like, what are you doing? Like, like it doesn't make sense. And they're like, how are you doing that? Right. It's what you just said.
And that's actually a lot of the times when I was getting, because I've been a trainer, and so I would get comments, and people would talk about how I was able to find a way to relate to all the people in the class, regardless of where they came from or their background or whatever. Like, I was able to find a way to relate to folks. And I mean, like, I like a lot of different shit. Like, like, just because I like fried catfish or shrimp and grits doesn't mean I can't also like quinoa. Like, I like all the things. And so, like, I can talk to you about all the things. I have a lot of interest, I mean, for a long time, Scarface was my hands down favorite movie, but I was still really excited when they made Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. Like, and we just have to get to a place where that's okay. And I think that, folks like me and you, trying to raise the kids that we are, those are, again, those incremental steps in the right direction. I really just encourage my kids, hey, be who you are and let the folks that are drawn to that find you. Don't go searching for folks to fit in. My son, he was annoyed. Because, it's the same thing. Like, my kids are multiracial. So, he was trying to fit in with, with the black kids that he had made friends with, and like they were jonesing and getting on him because he doesn't like bright colored, Jordans, and he doesn't have a sharp fade because he don't have that kind of hair and he don't want it like that. So, all right, cool, but they getting on him about those things, and he got fed up. And I was like, look, you're not obliged to sit with them. Like, you don't have to spend 40 minutes of your day being berated about how you're not like them. As they try to address their insecurities. Like, go sit someplace else.
Yeah.
And eventually he was like, okay. And so now he spends some lunch days at the debate club. He spends other lunch days, at different tables. And he's making, a variety of friends so he can express the variety of facets, that make up who he is. And it has to be that way, I think. I don't know. At least if you want to live a full life, I think it has to be that way. Yeah. It can't be only one thing, one way. That's just stultifying. Like, it's not good for anything.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, man. 100%.
Yo, that's what's up.
I have nothing else to offer to that. That you preach. I wrote this note down. I guess we can go ahead and end on this. Okay. It kind of goes back to something you were saying earlier. I can't remember what it was, but I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. But back when we were talking about, I think it was representation.
Yeah.
And I was telling you about, I guess, our people pursuing what's available to them. In that documentary on Netflix, Knock Down the House. Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen it. If you haven't watched it and you want to watch it, don't just skip past this part. One of the last things that Ocasio says at the end was that her dad, who's now passed away, when she was a little girl, or I don't remember what it was, they took a road trip and they stopped in D.C. and they were in the Capitol. And they were walking and looking at all the monuments and the buildings and everything. And he said to her, this is all yours. This is all yours. This is yours. That's your building. This is all yours. This is your government. This is yours. And that's bananas to me. That I don't know what his ethnicity was. I want to say Hispanic, but that's incredible to me that a minority at that time. That's nuts. I'm like, this is a white world. Like, you know what I mean?
But the thing is that you can't have anything you don't reach for. Like, if you don't go try to be more, if you don't go try to learn more, you'll never get anything but what you already have.
Yeah.
And if you are not growing, you're actively dying.
Yeah.
So if we're not telling our kids to go, to walk around like you own this place because you do, if we're not telling them to be involved, if we're not telling them that they can go, run the government, that they can go run the company or start their own, then we're really doing them a disservice. Yeah. And that's not a color issue. That's a parenting issue. That is an American issue. The country, quite honestly, is set up in a way that it absolutely needs the sheep. Like, it needs sheep. And those sheep have to be, they have to continue to commit to being tricked in the way that they are. But if we don't say something different, if we don't let our children know about the possibilities, about how to make this place better, then what are we having children for? If we're not asking ours to strive, then what are we doing? We tell our children that, don't just get a job. Go run the business. Go figure out a way to run the company. Don't just be, go in and only be the teacher. Like, be a teacher, get that experience, and then go be the superintendent. You don't like the way things are going in your county. You don't like the way things are going in your city. Get on the city council. Go be the comptroller or go run and be the mayor. Go be in Congress because it's yours. Like her dad told her, it's yours.
Yeah.
But that only means something if you're going to go do something with it. Your talents are yours. But if you don't cultivate them, if you don't grow them, then it doesn't mean anything. Those talents die on the vine. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I applaud her father for doing that, and he made a hell of a woman because she is out there turning over rocks, and she's scared a lot of folks on both sides of the aisle that need to be scared.
Yeah, watch that documentary, man. If you get a moment.
I will, because I cut for her. Like, I cut for her. She's dope, and I like what she's saying. I like the way she's saying it, and I like what she represents and what she means for the country and where we're going.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this ingrained cultural racism that we have been, its death throes, and we'll go ahead and die off here soon. But I'm not gonna hold my breath. I'm gonna just keep working.
Yeah, man. Really good podcast, man.
Yo, it's always powerful talking to you, man.
Really good podcast, man. I'm gonna go back and listen to this one.
Oh yeah. Yo, we do the thing, man. We do the thing.
Really good podcast, man. That's it, man.
We do the thing. Okay, that's what's up. Listen, before I bounce, I just want to applaud you. All this conversation we had about like exhorting our children to go do better and be better. The moves you made recently are right in line with that. Like, you are setting a good example for the ones that are coming after you about making a plan, setting a goal, and then absolutely pursuing it to the best of your ability. So I wish you all the luck in the world. Like I told you last time, if I can help you, you know that I will.
Yeah, man. It's not enough to talk about. I got to be about it, man. I can't talk that shit. I got to be that shit.
Yo, that's what it is. That's what it is. Listen, I absolutely hate to quote him, but walk it like you talk it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Walk it like you talk it. That's what's good.
Yeah. All right, man. Hopefully I can get you to come back again sometime, man, because like I said, this is awesome.
Listen, as long as the feds don't come for me behind something that I said, I'll be back again.
All right, man. You and yours have a great weekend. Hope Game of Thrones isn't as bad as I thought it was last time. So, I'll be watching tomorrow night.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Can we have a bonus episode about all of the military blunders in Game of Thrones?
Dog, hold on. Oh my God, there was so much wrong with that.
They did it so wrong, and I have to admit, like, I'm a huge fan of medieval combat and all of those things. I was so caught up in it, I was just watching it. But then I was thinking about it afterwards, and I saw a couple of things, and I was like, wait a minute. This is all wrong. Like, this was all wrong. There's no reason to have done any of that this way. Like, the fuck? So, man, we can do a bonus episode one day and just sit and break down all of the blunders in the Battle of Winterfell anytime you're ready.
Let me ask you this real quick. Quick. Do you remember Battle of the Bastards?
I do.
You remember Ramses? I think that's his name.
The Bolton?
Bolton, yeah. Ramsay Bolton.
Yeah.
Do you remember his strategy?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
If you get a chance, go back and watch that episode. His military strategy made it was light years ahead of what I just watched.
Well, I mean, okay. All right. Without going too far, right? First of all, you have a castle on purpose. It's a whole castle.
Why are you
with
outside the
walls
castle?
And crenellations and all kind of shit. Like, why are you outside the castle? That's not how anything is done. It's like it would be like going into a gunfight and purposefully putting your bulletproof vest in the trunk. Like, it's that kind of stupid.
Yeah. You know, we should do this when the season ends.
Yo, I'm with it. Let's do that.
So
we
will
will break it down and talk about this when the season's over.
All right.
I'm with it. All right, man. Have a good evening.
All right, you too.
Peace.
All right, my boy John again killed it. I'm gonna do this quick. Go to a playlist, and oh man, see what I can find here. Actually, you know what? Let me go to got a lot of different playlists, and I'm gonna go to I'm not even gonna tell you the name of my playlist. I'm just gonna go to this one I don't normally go to, and hit shuffle. Here we go.